Alright, so here is my totally impromptu review of my Suzuki SV650S semi-fared, semi-sport bike after about 2 months of owning it. Before we get going, just take for a second and listen to this exhaust. This is probably the highlight of my ride, is sitting here and listening to this thing at idle running. That classic V-twin sound. It does have an aftermarket Delkevic exhaust on it, but I love the sound of this bike, and it's not overpowering like, you know, a classic cruiser would be. It's just nice, subtle, throaty, loud when it needs to be, quiet when it needs to be. Totally dig this bike just from the sound at idle. So anyways, we'll get going here for a second. So gonna run through the neighborhood here. I got a bunch of stop signs that I'm gonna kind of cut out while we're going through this here. But also, I love riding through the neighborhood slow too. Again, nobody's out, nobody cares. You know, nobody's listening to me go by, or if they do, they just ignore it. But I love the sound, and you know, if you don't love your bike, well, why even get it? So this was one of the draws for me, was the sound, and yeah, totally dig it. So, anyways. First of all, why did I get this thing? I already have a 2015 Suzuki V-Strom 650. So why would I get this? You know, yeah, it's about 100 pounds lighter. Yeah, it'll be a little quicker off the line. Yeah, it'll probably have a little bit higher top end because it is smaller. But I was missing the sport bike feel. The V-Strom, never really fell in love with it until recently. And when I bought this bike, I still hadn't fallen in love with it. It was decently fast, decently sporty looking, but it just didn't have that appeal that feel that I had when I was on my CBR. And yeah, the CBR, you know, single cylinder, 300. And actually, I was kind of shocked when I sold the thing, and the guy who came in to get it, his dad, actually took it out for a spin, and I could not believe how tiny and how, I don't want to say silly, but how silly it sounded, because I had never heard it from afar. I'd always heard it, you know, when I was on it, and it sounded decent when I was on it. And then when I hear somebody else ride it, I'm like, boy, that sounds kind of wimpy, you know? So love that bike, but it was time for it to go. And now I'm missing a sport bike. So I started looking at Marketplace. I'm like, well, you know what? These 650s, these SV650s, they're pretty cheap. I don't like the naked version with the upright bars on it. So I, first of all, limited my search to the S model that has the, you know, the clip-ons, a little bit more aggressive look. And so I found basically two of them on Marketplace about the same time that I was going to go look at. One was this one, the semi-fared, and the other was a 2008 fully fared with, I don't remember, somewhere around 10,000 miles on it. This one had 15, a little under 15. And the fully fared was kind of grayish, and then this one has the bright, you know, in-your-face yellow. And I was going back and forth, and I arranged to look at the one, you know, the fully fared, and then kind of canceled at the last minute. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go look at this other one first, because I kept getting drawn back to the color and the fact that it doesn't look like every other fared sport bike out there. So ultimately, I went and looked at this thing after work one night. It's about a 50-minute, 1-hour drive to get where I needed to go to get this thing. And met the guy who owned it. Actually, he was a 21, 22, and his dad was there, and it was kept at his place. And so pulled it out, and it was like sitting next to like this beautifully restored 78 Camaro, I think it was. And then and there was a Corvette in there too, you know, like right around 78, 79. I'm like, okay, this guy takes care of his stuff, you know, and Spike was sitting in there along with like an R6, I think. And so, yeah, we pulled it out, looked at it, looked at the title. They had put very few miles on it, the 6-7 years that they had owned it, and drove it around the block, and I'm like, yeah, still wasn't quite. And I just made a spur-of-the-moment decision, you know what, I'm just going to go get it. So we loaded it into my truck, and I brought it home. Got it off the truck that night, put it in the garage, and then kind of wondering all night, man, did I do the right thing or not? So anyways, so I think that was like a Thursday or Friday. So the next Saturday, I get out there and I get on this bike and I turn it on. I'm just like, okay, it still sounds as cool as I thought it was when I first, went and looked at it. So I started taking it out on the road that first day, and I'm like, all right, this is freaking awesome, man. Here I am and back into the sport bike feel, and you are kind of crunched over. It's not as comfy as the V-Strom. The V-Strom is like a couch on wheels, and you could be on that thing all day, but it's boring. Bike like this is not boring. You got that core strength. You got to maintain that core muscle, engagement. And I spent a couple hours on this thing with a buddy. He brought his R1 over, and we did about 120, 130 miles on it. And towards the end of the ride, my neck was getting just a tad sore, and my wrists were starting to feel it. But I also ride a road bicycle, and so I'm kind of used to that position. If you're not used to that position, you might be a little bit more sore. But once I got off the bike and stretched, it was like, yeah, okay, I can do this for another couple hundred miles. So anyway, so back to the, and by the way, when you're looking at right there, so if you own a larger 360 camera like this here, this is the first gen GoPro 360. It's a heavy camera. The thumb screw has a Phillips head screw, head on it for a reason. So don't trust your fingers to tighten the stupid thing down. Just go ahead and use the stupid screwdriver, right? Lesson learned here. It's a 360 camera, but then that split line is right where your face is. So you want to keep the thing upright. So use the stupid screwdriver to make sure it's on there tight enough. So anyway, so back to the bike. So I'm out here. This is just one of the back roads near my house here in Ohio, and I'll tell you what, nobody around. You just kind of go at your own pace, and just a nice little afternoon cruise. Totally digging it. So back to the review. So you'll notice every now and then I'm lifting up my left arm, kind of like a little chicken arm thing. One thing I noticed about the bike I'm not too happy about, but I had to do the same thing with the Grom. I had to do the same thing with the CBR. Is you got to either scooch over to the left or to the right if you want to see out the mirror, because your arms are blocking it if it's pointed behind you, and then or do a chicken wing thing and kind of look under your arm to see what's back there. So not a fan of that, but that's probably just a sport bike thing. The V-Strom, of course, doesn't have that issue at all. Those mirrors are super high, and don't run into that at all. So there we go again, chicken wing thing there. And everybody's probably behind me is probably going, why does that guy keep waving at me? No, it's just because I can't see you. So that's probably one of the detractors. So acceleration, it's a 370 or whatever pound bike. You can look up the stats. This isn't a stats video. This is just my feelings about it. But you know what? It's got the power. It definitely doesn't feel like my buddy's R1, of course, but 75 horsepower, whatever. Heck, 3 years ago when I first started riding, my Grom scared the crap out of me. I had never ridden motorcycle before. I bought this thing without knowing how to ride one. I just kind of taught myself. Man, that thing scared me. And then I bought the 300. That thing scared me, So I got this thing, and I was actually looking at, what the heck is it? It's not the R1. It's the FC1. I was looking at the FC1, which is about 150 or so horsepower bike. And, it was just too much for me, at least at my current riding level. So I passed on that. It was a nice example. But ultimately, I settled on this because it was that nice 75 to whatever horsepower range that I feel comfortable with. So next bike, if I can find a decent SV1000, that'll probably be my next step up. Now here's the problem. I really like this bike. Do I really want to go through the hassle of upgrading for 50 horsepower, or do I just want to get another get a 4-cylinder sport bike like an R1 or something like that? I don't know. I can't use that horsepower around here. It's all back roads and stuff like that. Even on the interstate, I can't use it, right? So I don't know. This might be my last sport bike. We'll see, because I'm still digging the crap out of this bike. So anyway, so any other detractions on this bike? No. Like I said, other than the mirrors, and it being a moderate horsepower, I think I had this thing up to like 100 miles an hour for about 5 seconds once. Then it does what you need it to do. And as far as 65 or 70 miles an hour, you know, all day long. I don't know if I can do it all day long on this thing, but for the intended purpose of this bike, it is quite comfortable to ride 30, 40, 50 miles to go to a, you know, coffee shop, or 100 miles or 150 miles, go out with a buddy and do a round trip somewhere. Yeah, I mean, what more can you ask for? You know, these things are cheap. I paid $3,000 for this thing. I paid $3,200 for my 2015 Beast Round. So, you know, it's not about. It is ready for its 15,000 mile valve check. Okay, so I've got to get in there anyway. I got to take the gas tank up and get in there anyway to see what the air filter looks like. So I might as well just go ahead and do the valve service this winter and take it out and, you know, ride it for another however many tens of thousands of miles I decide to keep it. So totally digging it. Definitely not regretting it at all. Every time I take it out, you know, you get that giddy factor. Oh, and that's the other thing too, you know, it makes you feel like a kid. Every time I go by a group of, you know, 13, 14-year-old boys, you know, they do the old rah, 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 you know, so you get to go by them and do the, you know, rev the bike for them and shit, and they giggle. So yeah, I mean, that's how you feel with this thing. It's, you know, it's not a flex, it's not a sport bike flex where you're out there with the 200, 300 horsepower bike. Honestly, I don't trust myself with that kind of horsepower yet, so that's why I passed on the FZ1. So, you know, do I regret it? Nope. Totally digging it, totally loving it. Does what I need it to do. It's got enough power. It's got the look, and it's got the unique look too. I actually took it to a local bike show, or a local car bike show, about a month and a half ago. Got first place, you know, and it's a stock bike. It's just in well-maintained condition, and you know, washed and waxed. It presents itself really, really well. Nothing fancy. You know, you don't have to spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars to get some bike that, you know, to flex on your friends. I'll tell you what, everybody that's seen this thing, you know, that is into stuff like this, man, they said, man, that's a really cool looking bike, and I agree. So, you know, if you're curious, go check one out. I don't regret my decision one bit. So, yeah, and the price is right too. You can't argue with the price, man. $3,000 for something like this with as much fun. So, anyways, like, comment, share. I'll talk to you in a bit.